Neil.
Thank you, Carl. Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, we're going to do something symbolic. When I call you to come and pitch one of the balloons, but you start from the top. If you are very...
Find the top, because somebody, this is top. Somebody, this is...
Okay, the top row, you can start from there, any. So at this point, we would like to call Mr. Assa-Asg first to come.
You have this. There was just before he does it, I won't mention names, but there was once a former head of state who went to the United Nations and they were proposing the toast. It was alleged, please. Now I'm using the words alleged. I'm a journalist. I'm covering myself. When they were proposing, they were knocking, the glass together. He did his own like that. And then the thing broke. And then the words that he used, I can't repeat. So glass, it was all right.
So we have Seto starting. Wow. We call David Abe to join. David. Where was that? Any of the... Oh.
Okay. Second wife.
We'll call, please, you, when you pinch, you come and stand beside me. We'll call Michael to come from South Africa.
South African style.
This was too violent. We'll call Imran to just come and you can use that one. Oh! Frankodum to come. No, you open. No, just take it out. That's right. And then we invite Yabeku. Pressing. Okay. He wants to offer you the same. We call Richard Autry, GIC, to now it's the turn of the ladies, right? Gladys, Esther, Mrs. Esther. Take yours. And then we call Kakra. Good. You see the ladies on very gentle. The men are too violent. We call Steve Yebua, the chairman of the education committee. Oh, give Prof. And then we call Amina, PhD. Okay. And Then we have 2 more to go. Oh, Gazo. Hey. And then we have, now we'll add one of the rep from a university. Red wine, eh? Please join us. Yes, you pitch from the top. And then the rep, want one rep from the Actuarial Science, hold it. Actuarial Science Students Association. The president is here. Can I see you? Yes, the young man. We are doing this for you. Yes, we are doing this for them. They are the future. So that's right. And then we are, I think, if I don't add Mark, there will be trouble. Mark, come and do the last one. Good. At this time, please let's come this way as we see the unveiling of the Actuarial Society of Hooray! Yeah, this is the most important part for South Africa Society and Actuarial Society of Ghana. The emblem, you can see ASG on one side, and the other side, you have the emblem.
I warned them that when this thing goes off, the smoke alarm and the fire alarm will start. No, I warned them.
But they are here with us.
But here is what.
Yeah. And it's very important, this time we are not working alone. The leaders of the society, the leaders of the 2 societies, those that have gone ahead of us are represented up there. The students are there, the university. We are doing this together. And this is the partnership. Shall we clap for ourselves? And at this point, the program is launched. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Congratulations, Neil.
Thank you,
Very well
Akasi.
done. David?
Finish with them. Now that we've done what has to be done, I will concede that I knew they were going to be poking or pricking or choking the balloons, but I didn't know there will be that effect of, with the sparks going off, and then the balloon. So Neil, you got me there. Well done. Mark, where is he? There he is. Now, we've got to the part where it says the ASG education pathway, and you are a member of the committee, am I right? Am I? Yes or no? Hey, Mark, are you talking to me? You see that my English accent is now coming back? Good. And then the education board for the ASSA, which Imran will do. Okay, Mark, please come forward. Let's welcome Mark, please.
Is it afternoon yet? Good afternoon, everybody. Now we come to the main deal where we go through the ASG pathway as designed by the steering committee and the education committee. Hello, is it better? Yeah, so I'm still waiting for. Right. While we wait for them, let me be quick to acknowledge the team that has been working on this all this while. It is not my presentation. It is that of the education committee, together with the Actuarial Society of South Africa, doing this. So can we go to the next slide? Right. So I think, yeah. All right. So basic facts about actuarial education and profession in Ghana. ASG and the demand side. ASG has been around for the past 25 years. We are a full member of the IAA. We are focused on skill-based training of members. That has been the focus in the past. We have a strong and supportive diaspora community. The insurance industry is our largest employer of actuarial dominant. We have a very dominant life insurance. Life is virtually our non-life practice area is virtually non-existent. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, the journey so far. We had internal evaluations as a committee, and one of the things we did is to understand our market challenges. We had a strategic approach to dealing with these market challenges. Resource support internally, we had to evaluate that as well. market expansion considerations. So in our internal discussions as an educational committee, these are the key things we were considering. And that is what led us to the fact that we needed to find a new pathway around what we are doing. We've also had some IA and FMA engagements. FMAs are full member associations of the International Actuarial Association. That means that you are part of the international body. Again, strategic partnerships. Some of the members, some of the associations we had discussions was before this was SOE and Assa, and then we drilled down to Assa based on the discussions we've had with them. And then we had to go into a strategic partnership where we had an MOU signed by the two organizations, and that leads us to the next one. The MOU was to leverage access examination, have a mutual recognition, and customize our pathway and certification as well. We needed to have a unique pathway in Ghana that represents Ghanaians, actually. The implementation, we had some stakeholder engagement. We spoke to regulators, we spoke to JIC, we are speaking to the universities. We've had a first stakeholder engagement with the universities. We are supposed to have a second one on the university accreditation policy and others that we are discussing that will come up. Official launch, that is where we are today. Partner industry, again, we are still engaging GIA so that we can speak to the CEOs as well to drive this as an industry kind of thing, and then MPRA as well. In fact, I was very happy when I heard Mr. Abe say that there's a component in their regulation, and all this while we've not exploited it. That means we have a lot to do in the pension space as well, and it's a good thing for us. Then the next steps, implement support programs, GIC program to roll out very soon, university accreditation process, which we are working on. What that means is that universities can now be accredited once we have the framework properly. We have a few challenges we've been facing in the industry. My president spoke about them earlier on, but this is just a recap. So we have resource challenges, study material, tutorial, and other things. We didn't have a clear pathway. There's a challenge, brain drain, unconsolidated syllabus. Every university now does their own thing. You come out and you can't even match them. Low qualification of members. It takes approximately 7-8 years before you see one in Ghana come out as a qualified person. No, it's too bad. Normally, those who qualify quickly go through either the UK or the SOE, and they are able to do it much quicker. We've had very long process of qualifying, and one of the people who did this was Prince. And you seldomly come across those who have done everything here. It's very difficult to find one. So these are, next slide. Yes, and then Mr. Autry too happens to be one of them. Now our pathway, which is the most important thing. So in considering which pathway we had to go, we had to structure them in a way that matches the ASA, because remember, we are not working alone, we are going with them. And so we had to do things consistent with what they are also doing. So we structured our pathway in different parts. So we had non-core actuarial, we had pre-actuarial, and then core actuarial content, followed by the normative scales, which Imran will talk about very soon. Then the fellowship pathway, that I would not like to go there now because we are still implementing those bits. So for the non-core actuarial, which we have christened the subject probability and actuarial statistics, that's our own subject. And that is the actuarial statistics paper of the ASA, actuarial financial reporting, and actuarial economics. These are the non-core actuarial papers, followed by the core pre-actuarial financial mathematics, risk and survival statistics. These subjects, you can gain credits for that from the university accredited program by BSc or MSc, or from ASG ASA exams. that we are going to be administering here, or from an IA full member association. What that means is that CAS SOE, because we have a very SOE, if you want, dominant market, and so we need to manage the transition. For that reason, if you have credits or you have passed those exams, you may be considered for exemptions as well. In fact, you can't get exemptions. Now to the real deal. Level 3, which is core actuarial. We have contingencies, we have actuarial data science, we have loss reserving and financial engineering. These are tailored strictly to the Assa exams, and so we just picked their names and we are using them. But there are two components that is from ASG, which is the ADS, Actuarial Data Science, and Legal Environment and Regulation. What we expect is that nobody should be able to come into this country and just practice. You need to have gone through the legal environment and regulation. You need to understand what we do here, be it pensions, health, life, whatever it is, you need to. So as from next year, we are working towards getting our bail, actuaries bail, done by kind courtesy of the UNDP program we are working on. So hopefully, if all things go well, we may get it quick, and once we get it, yes, we will be able to have more power in terms of regulating who practice here or who does not. And so for me, that's my heartbeat actually. We need to really regulate who comes in and who doesn't come in here. And that goes through the ASG actuarial program strictly. So what that means is that moving forward, you cannot gain exemptions for this. You would have to go through the ASG program. And we did it based on certain things. We realized that the rate at which people were qualifying was bad. And so we needed a concerted and cohort-based sort of push. So we have people going through, if we have 20 people going through the program, you can be sure by the time they are graduating, you have 10 people in the next 3-4 years who are qualified as actuaries in Ghana. Otherwise, we are still faced with the old problem of having 1 in 7-8 years qualified. And so on core and pre-actuarial, yes, you can gain exemptions, either university or IEFMA program. Core actuarial, you go through the ASG program, and that's intended to be a 1.5 year program. Then you sit, so that's where you go through the program. The normative skills, I won't go there, but these are the basic things we are covering. Modeling fundamentals, model documentation, analysis and reporting, general practice. Again, general practice is supposed to be our own paper because it's supposed to be something that mimics or that reflects our industry as well. So, but those, once you've gone through that, the level 3 papers or the level 3 course, you can do that at will. You must have, and that would have been the FAP if it was an SOE paper. Those of you that are going through the SOE understands what I'm talking about. And that is what we call the association qualification training. And includes work-based learning, which is very important. Again, we are trying to structure something on the UNDP minimum gain program. We want to have a customized work-based learning program for Ghana. And we will do, once we get to that bridge, we are going to do that with, we've already started engagement with UNDP and Milliman on that project so that we can assign you to some of the senior members who will coach you through the work-based learning over a period so that you can go through what is required. But Imran will speak more to it once it's his turn. Next. So this is basically the pathway. We did a matching of what it will be. So as in the subjects we have and how they match to other international papers. So you can see them there. I won't want to waste time on that. Yeah. So we can move forward to the next. Yeah, so ASG credentials. So we are moving towards a path where we are going to credential associates, fellows, and technicians, if you want. So sanctioned by the regulator, we have had to go through a process where we say, if you go through the GIC program, you don't come out empty. It shouldn't be a matter of paper. It should be, by the end of it, after going through the rigor, you should be able to get a certain credential. And so after engaging the regulator, NIC, the commissioner to be precise, and then the GIC, we agreed that we are going to provide a professional diploma in actuarial technique once you go through the program. And to get that, that is level 2 and 3, specifically pre-actuarial and core actuarial. So you need to have passed FM and survivor risk and survival statistics, so you can enroll on that program. Associates, as we know, it's been a practice. You have to go through all the program, the entire program, to get associateship. Fellowship based on access. Again, you have to get associateship and then go through the fellowship examination to be able to specialize in one practice area. So depending on which way you want to go, whether it is pensions, life, non-life, health, any of the practice areas that are available, you can go through that, the ASA examination, and then become a fellow of the ASG. Next. Next slide. Okay, university accreditation policy. So the key things on our university accreditation policy, which is strictly hinged on the ASA university accreditation policy, we've added some things to customize it to the Ghanaian market for local relevance. Principles, we have shared principles. These are basic things on which the university accreditation policy relies on: retention of high standards, local relevance, international recognition, and then accessibility. We want to ensure that, look, people are actually getting access not just to the program, but are able to go through the accreditation and then the exemption. Coverage spans through level 1 and 2 for university accreditation because, like I mentioned earlier on, for now you can only gain exemptions to those 2 levels. As we progress through the program, other things may come in and we may consider the other papers as well. Again, we expect that there will be actuaries participation in the university program. Again, we are looking at a 75% participation where there's an actuary on the program. So again, one of the things we have done, which is key to the university accreditation policy, especially for level 2 exemption, is the fact that you must necessarily have an actuary on your faculty teaching. What that means is that he's able to look at the course and say, this is okay, it matches what the standard is by the ASA syllabus and what we call university recommended syllabus as well. And so that is key to us. We are also constituting an independent external examiners board for each subject. What that means is that when you set your exams, it has to be moderated. You cannot just set substandard questions at the university for people to go through and want to gain exemptions for that. We want to keep the standard. We want actuaries in Ghana to be matched to the international standard. And so most of the questions that are, especially for the level 2, which is pre-actuarial, would have to be scrutinized by our independent external examiners. Not just the questions, but then the marking as well, so that we know there is a bit of rigor there. You are not just passing out students because you know A or B. Because in the university environment, lecturers know students and students know lecturers, so anything can happen. Yes, but when you go through the GIC, your marker doesn't know you. The only one you know is your facilitator, who is going to lecture you through the course. Quality assurance. One of the things we have done is, again, I've mentioned earlier, accreditation actually assigned to every university so far as you are looking for exemptions, we assign you an accreditation actuary. We expect that the university should get one, and he's going to be our main point of contact to the accreditation committee. Again, independent student survey. We know we are in Africa and anything can happen. The university may not even be covering the syllabus, but at the end they turn out that they've covered the syllabus. So we are going to have, we are constituting an independent survey committee who will go around somewhere in the schools and ask, find by their own means, find out what the students are actually covering, if it matches. And it's not just being said by virtue of the fact that you want accreditation. Because remember, you have to go through renewal of your accreditation over a period of time. Then the inclusion of the external examiners is one of the ways we want to ensure that we are actually having quality in this program. You can go to the next. Yep. So student exemption policy, prerequisite, you have to be an ASG member. In fact, everything you are doing, if you are not an ASG member, forget, and you can try something else. Eligibility, you should have completed an accredited actuarial degree. Accredited program. Okay, so in terms of eligibility, there are two types. It could be going through an accredited program from an accredited university. You can go through non-accredited program to an accredited. There are students who change universities. So those things are considered depending on where you are coming from. Maybe you may have completed a non-accredited university at all. And if you are coming from Assa-MRA entities, MRA, mutual recognition, entities that have mutual recognition with MRA. So you are eligible. All that matters is you have to apply, but it's on a case-by-case basis. So then documents required, exemption application form, original certified. So we are going to put all these things online on our website, which we are creating a student handbook that gives you the complete scope of what we are doing. So you take that handbook, you have a detailed understanding of what we have actually done. And it contains all these things that you have done. And an exemption recommendation letter from an accredited actuary, a detailed copy of relevance, blah, blah. So all these things are documentation that you would need to be, again, exclusions and non-exemptions. It states categorically that where there is material change in the ASG's recommended syllabus or the ASA syllabus, it will be difficult to grant exemption to you because the syllabus would have changed. Nonetheless, it's considered on a case-by-case basis. So, again, the other exclusion is our L3 legal environment and regulation paper. Nobody gets exemption for that. You have to sit for it. No matter who you are, where you come from, you have to go through that. That is an exclusion. Again, resource supports. These are things we are discussing and hope to finalize soon. Actuarial Education Fund. We are looking to establish an Actuarial Education Fund with stakeholders to support L1 and L2, level 1 and 2 exams, because we would have to, a lot of us would have to sit for those papers to be able to access the GIC program. So we intend to do that. That's something we are working at carefully. And we want to bring all stakeholders on board to support this agenda. So one of the things we are trying to do with the Actuarial Education Fund is to provide a lot of study materials for Ghanaians to be able to access what they need to be able to sit for an exam, and then also fund some of the examinations, especially for the L2 for us. Again, we are looking at pushing a lot of tutorials. We've currently engaged Solveco. Solveco has a platform called Actuarial Room, where what they are seeking to do, Solveco South Africa, what they are seeking to do is to provide tutorials for students all across Africa. And Ghana is going to be the first to utilize that platform. We have them on the standby. All we need is to say we have 10 people ready to take X subjects. They give us a facilitator who helps us through. So we are doing that. Our members have also done that in the past. So again, we go through our members to help support in the tutorials. We used to do it for exam P and FM. And so we want to continue that thing. Again, mentorship, like we mentioned, work-based learning program. We are discussing that with the UNDP minimum gain program. We want to do a lot of mentorship to support the whole program. I think at this point, Imran will come with the normative skills. Then we can open up for questions.
Thank you very much. But just one, Mark, just one little clarity here, please. Assuming I have been in this business for, let's say, 20 years, but I've been doing it outside. And I come here. I know you said exemptions, but how long is it? For instance, let me give an example. Law. If you do UK law and you come to Ghana, the only difference between UK law and Ghana law is, I think, inheritance and land law. So you just do 3 months involving these subjects, and then you graduate with the next group. Will that apply here? I've spent 20 years doing actuarial science in the US. So I haven't gone through level 1, level 2, but I've done it in the US. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, that I'm saying time frame. If it's only the legal one, then that one can be done in what, 1, 2 months, 3 months, and away we go. I'd like to get, that's what I'd like to get that. So
once you are qualified, you need that. That's the only thing you need.
That's the only one.
That's the only
how long
thing.
is that one?
That is support. It depends on when we are doing it in 2 semesters. Just on the, so there's the same time that Assa writes their exams. So we have April and then August for it. So you just look at any of the windows that is convenient for you.
Okay, but still, so like you do for 3 months or 2 months, and then you go and sit that final exam. It's just a paper. A paper. Yes. Oh, that's okay. All right. Thank you. Right, Imran, your audience.
Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, esteemed guests, it's my privilege and honor to be here talking to you. So I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Ghana. I haven't been here in the last couple of years, and I've missed the people and the environment significantly. So for my sins, I am one of those actuaries who happen to be a CEO and sits on some of the boards and sat on boards for the last couple of decades. And I think that it's important to realize that what we're doing here is not about today or tomorrow. You know, the only way to see the future, in some ways, to create it. And we're creating a future here, not for today. Actuaries don't think about today only. Accountants do that okay. I'm just kidding. So all professions have a valuable role to play, but actuaries have skill in looking at the future over the long term. And that's one of the key skills that the world's going to need, because the world is changing and context is changing. So what we often find is that it's easy to overestimate what you want to do immediately. Everybody looks at what you're going to do and you think, over the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, we're going to sort out everything, and we hardly ever do. And then it's almost always the case that we underestimate what we're going to do in the very long term. And right now, we're talking about a number of students. You know, there's 150 students in the US, and that's significant. And they can add material value in mentorship. There's clearly some quality to export into other countries. But 10, 20, 30 years down the line, there may be 1,000 coming out every year or more. The industry is going to grow. The role that actuaries play is going to grow. Actuaries can play a meaningful role in insurance, and they will, in banking, health, but a number of other areas. Actuaries think long, they understand risks. So those roles and the growth of the local economy associated is going to be quite big. And what we're planning for and what the discussions have been about is not just about what we're going to do today. It's about how we're going to create for what happens over the course of the next couple of decades. And I think it's important to appreciate and realize that. And I'm quite privileged in my little engagement with the Actuarial Society of Ghana because some of that's been engaged on now when its impact will be felt a little bit later down the line. So historically, actuaries who qualified out of Ghana have worked quite a long time to qualify because they haven't had tons of support. They haven't had the ability to finish exams in a structured fashion. They've had to write exams elsewhere. They've had to work often when doing so. They've had to find funding during that process. And when they've done that, they were naturally professional because they spent lots of time maturing, growing, and learning. That's going to change a little. With a greater structured project or pathway, as is being created now, yes, you're going to find qualification happening sooner. But what's important is it's not just about the technical skill. So an actuary who can only technically apply themselves will be an actuary, but not necessarily a great actuary. And what we need to appreciate is that in order to be a great actuary, you need to be a professional. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit further. If I can ask just for the slides to move. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the things that Mark's talked about already. So this is a little bit of the pathway that Mark's discussed. But the first portion is where a lot of the effort has been spent. What I'm going to touch on, what I've been asked to talk about, is really the next couple of phases. So phase 2 talks about normative skills and the application of normative skills. I'll touch there. But there's a couple of other phases. We're going to look at work-based learning to an extent, and that's where I'm going to stop today. But this is, again, for the long term, so there will be further development and implementation over time. We can move to the next slide. So normative skills, and coming back to what an actuary is, and what a profession is, and what a professional is. So there are three ingredients, really. There's the ability to do the technical work, the technical skills, the competence. Your exams and the early phase of exams through the GIC and others are there to prepare you to be competent, to be able to technically apply yourself. Then the profession is geared around the organization. So you got the ASG offering institutional support to help you to do that in a structured way, to find accreditation, to ensure that standards are met. Because when standards are met, even though things are difficult initially, what's great over the long term is that there's trust in what you're going to do. If actuaries want to permeate into banking, there's nothing that will stop you except yourselves. But in order to be successful in banking, there needs to be long-term trust. And so we need to make sure that we add value consistently at an appropriate level and an appropriate standard. So the organization helps to do that, and maybe mentorship and otherwise will help also. But then, lastly, in order to fast track that professional growth, the way in which we operate in practice is important. How do we deliver on our promise? How do we ensure that we continuously learn and grow and are relevant? And that's where normative skills come in. So we need to be able to apply ourselves well, and we need to be wholly professional. We can go to the next slide. So I've talked through the ingredients. I'm not going to spend too much time doing so further. But I do think that what's important is actuaries will be lifelong learning. We're going to continuously improve. We're going to continuously get better. We're going to ensure that we're always relevant. Now, in order to do that, we need to learn a little in practice. It's not so easy. It's not just about doing a calculation, because you can learn to do so, but who will listen to you if you can't explain yourself properly? It's not just about understanding where the risk is, but not being able to apply it and communicate it and present it in a way where it's understood and where we can find a way to share the insight, but also the way to mitigate effectively against it, and how we're going to be able to run business in a time where risk does apply. That's where normative skills come in. Okay? So it's important for us to ensure that we're always relevant and always learning. And normative skills is a critical area associated, and it becomes more and more important when it's easier to qualify off the back of the technical skill that we got. But if you want to hurt the profession, have a ton of technical skill, but be pretty poor in the way that you apply it or demonstrate it to the industry. Okay? If we can move on. Sorry, next slide. Okay. So in the South African environment, there are three, and if you can just forward again so we can see the details. There are three elements towards normative skills. We start off with what is a foundation app, and that just talks about an understanding on a base level about what professional means. What does it mean to be a professional? We actually start that process very early. We start that process at our universities, and we grow that process over time. And those who haven't gone through the universities and learned that, and have understood that at the start of their practice, need to ensure that they get that before they can progress with any of our technical subjects. Okay? And that's quite important, because it's always important to be a professional in what we do. Then we need to be able to communicate it. And this is actually part of the initial process. I think we catch that in the level 3 part of the qualification that Mark's already talked about. Critical to be able to communicate effectively. Then there's the rest. How do we ensure that you understand your business environment? How do we ensure that you can model properly? How do we ensure that you can present appropriately? How do you know what the strategic context is that you're operating in? Are you a professional? Can you apply yourself appropriately? Do you understand what the conflict of interest is and when you'll need to see it? Those are elements and skills that we teach students, and it's quite important for us to ensure that we keep a standard in our profession. And I think you're going to want to start and form that here as well. Because with a solid basis like that, 10, 20, 30 years from now, when actuaries are leading in business, and they will, and if you do really well, you will then attract the best talent, and that best talent will grow up doing the right things. Okay, we can move on. So I'm going to be quite quick now, because this is about the future, and we haven't yet finalized the details, but this is a work in progress. So what we can do is take a look at where we are with normative skills. So communications, level 3, already discussed. But level 4, and that's what we're going to start working on quite soon. And I just want to do a shout out here, because the team in Ghana has been quite amazing. They've gone through and taken a look at everyone else. They've appreciated how things work, and they've really tried to do the best for their students. And that's why we're so keen to work with them, because we actually think we're going to be successful here in the medium to long term as well. So the executive team, the Actuarial Society of Ghana, but also the operations team have been wonderful. And they've been really good guys. You need to give them a hand. Okay, so if we look at level 4 and normative skills as we have them, there are a couple of key areas. So modeling is critical as an actuary, and not just the ability to do the technical bit, but the ability to use it. Communicate it, use it, report on it, etc. And that's a key area of development for us. The general practice, I think, was already discussed. It's going to be localized, so we're going to work together to find the best way to do that, largely Ghana-driven. And then we get to the professional process, and that's where a lot of the other skills, business and legal awareness, now adjusted, obviously, for the Ghanaian context, presentation, strategic thinking, etc. And then professionalism. We spend a lot of time making sure that our students are mature as professionals, because they apply actuarial judgment often in very meaningful positions. I remember qualifying, look, it's a long time ago, so in about 2003, and just before that, I had a fairly good amounts of seniority early. I remember having to make calls for how does this $500 million transaction work? Or how do we create a relationship between two different companies? Or how do we acquire a company and manage its underlying risk? Those are the type of queries and questions that actuaries here will answer, and not answer when they're senior. Answer quite early in the process, probably in the next decade already. It doesn't look like it now, but that's what's going to happen in the next decade. And in order to do so, we're going to want to make sure that we don't land up in the newspapers saying that actuaries don't know how to do these things. Okay? And then we get to work-based learning. And work-based learning is quite important as a stepping stone almost, because if we think about it, there are two things that come out of it here. The first is, as actuaries, we're going to continuously learn and develop. So continuous professional development is a critical aspect of our profession, something that is important, and work-based learning allows us to step into that. It gets us to be disciplined in learning what is happening, in being able to be prepared, and in being able to continuously learn our context so we can ensure we're always relevant. But we also appreciate that some skills are not learned without an appropriate context. So if I go and tell you, but you need to learn how to present, and I give you the notes on presenting and you learn the notes as part of a course, that's not going to show you how to present. You're going to have to practice on that and build certain skills in practice, in action, in learning, often on a supervised basis. Now, there's already discussion on the capabilities, tools, and mentoring that can be brought to bear to help do that more effectively within Ghana. But it's critical that we build a successful and strong work-based learning culture so that, again, we'll keep the standards and, again, know this, that the steps that any of you take are going to be almost creating a path that others are going to follow in. Take those steps well, keep our standards good, and we grow well as a profession. We open the doors for others to thrive, and they'll open the doors for others to thrive a lot later. In ending, maybe I should tell you a little bit of a story. I remember times when I first started traveling in Africa, I went from country to country. There were often times that, depending on when I landed and when I left, I was the only actuary in the country. And then in some of those countries, now, I go and I talk to students, and I talk to some of the professionals and some of the guys on the boards that I've met over the years. And I find that now there's tens in some place, hundreds in others. And that's in the course of a couple of decades. Ghana, 20 or 30 years from now, is not going to be like it is today, but the steps that we take today will determine what's going to happen 20 or 30 years down the line. And I wish you well. As a society, we are keen to help the growth of Ghana. We are keen in terms of supporting Africa for Africa to the world.
Sorry, Imran is my colleague.
Michael,
So,
Michael, I beg of you, Michael, I need to do this important announcement. The owner of a Toyota Corolla White with the registration number GN422521, they've written Brokers Trust on it. Please, you have sincerely hampered somebody, and the person needs to go NOW. Thank you very much.
thank you. 1 minute. I do not have my shoes. Anyone noticing that? Okay, so normative skills for actuaries. Just communication. What are you going to remember? The words I spoke earlier, or the fact that I went here with no shoes? Then I'm going to slip here. Yeah, what are you going to remember more? That the guy lay down. What was he doing? He wanted to communicate something. Was he doing well or whatever? That's the discussion we're going to have, right? Throughout. That's what actuaries are trying to do. Get your numbers, get your modeling, but it makes no sense if David doesn't understand what you've done. Makes no sense if madam, PhDs, somewhere there, right? It won't make sense, and this is very important. I said to Imran, give me so that towards the end, I'll say something that is so important. We have been very poor as the actuarial profession in dealing with normative skills, meaning soft skills, meaning the things that are needed the most, meaning being on the board of directors, being the chairperson, and then communicating the whole story. We have been very poor. And this is so important. So Actuarial Society of South Africa has led in developing normative skills. It has led, it has been copied now by the IFOA. Others are trying to copy. This is important for Ghana. Just start right there and implement. So Imran, thank you very much. Really, when I remember I didn't have shoes and I really had to lie down for me to drive this home. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Redwan is my name. I have a question I need. I think I need some clarity somewhere. Mark, let's look at it this way. I think you may mention that student can, or potential actuaries or student can get exemptions at level 1 and 2 only. Is that correct? Good. Now, have you looked at a situation whereby last 2 months or so, we re-accredited some programs in actuarial science. We have to, looking at the current trend, we have to do some adjustment and based on the levels. So my question is that, have we checked this? Maybe the program outline or the structure, thank you, the structure for the ASD, ASS program is out. Then we begin to run it for, let's say, from 2023, this year. And reaccreditation is done every 4 years. Then let's say in the second or third year, okay, of that particular cohort, there has been some changes in your program. How do you communicate that to reaccreditation, whereby it can be affected immediately? Because remember, this same cohort, if they are graduating in the 4th year, the reaccreditation section, how will it be done? So that your new changes can take effect with those cohorts. That's my first question. Second question is, I didn't see, so okay, thank you.
Hello. I think that question is already dealt with. To start with, we are doing a lot of stakeholder engagement. Unfortunately, you didn't join the first stakeholder engagement with the university community. It's going to be a series of communication. We are not doing this in isolation. We are doing it with you. And so if there has to be any change at any point in the syllabi, we will communicate that, of course. And we also ensure that we have, now what we have is called the recommended syllabus. And we have had to painstakingly go through and put whatever the Assa syllabus is, capture them topic by topic and the detail that it has to go through. We cannot make a change without informing you afterwards for the university. And so we like we have begun, we are doing a lot of engagements. We will continue that so that at any point, if there is a marked change in the syllabus, you get to know. Right, thank you.
Thank you very much. We want to commend the committee for the work done so far. I think most of the problems that we face with IFA and SOA is not probably with the fees, but the conversion rate. I believe that we will feel the exam will be more Ghanaian if the fee is in Ghana cedis. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to sort of add up to his submission and say that we have very competitive rates from Assa. And I can tell you It's better than what you see now. Far better than, by far.
Mark.
I'm coming to that. I'm
Mark.
not done with my submission.
The people here want figures like he said. They don't like competitive rates. They want figures. Then they can compare.
Let me give you...
And then hold on, Mark. His question further said that it shouldn't be quotation marks dollarized. So yes, you can have it in cedis, but it's still dollarized. Because you know when we are going to buy cars, so wow, they say don't put it in dollars. So you go and see there and see this. But when you are actually going to pay for the car, they tell you dollar nasisan. So that's what he's asking. Thank you.
Yes. To add up to it, I haven't spoken, or we are not speaking financials because we are still trying to finalize. We have an indication of what some look like. And I can tell you, some of them are almost half of what you see now. No, we will convert it into cedis for you. But bottom line, we have very good rates. You will got it in cedis on the ASG website for you. Don't worry, it will be in cedis. Let me assure you with that. At every point in time, we'll try and do that standardized rate for you. For instance, a typical case is our annual membership dues. I'm going to where I shouldn't be going to, but we have standardized it to USD. Why? Because we have a diaspora community who are also, and we want to be fair, so we do it in its equivalent, and that is the way it's been since. And it's important to be fair. It will be unfair to underrate things for Ghanaians, to sort of come down for Ghanaians, and it is in a global community in terms of those who are affiliated to us. So that's why sometimes we like to quote things in a standard rate so that at the conversion, but we will convert it to GHS on the website for you. Don't worry. Of course, the point is that the exam itself is by Assa, though customized, bits of it customized to our market. And so we have to appreciate the fact that it is coming from another association. It is not entirely ours. What I can say is for our papers, like the legal regulation, and of course, those ones are very Ghanaian, though it will be in a, but bottom line, they are good rates we have.
Mike, thank you very much. Mike Low, one here. My name is Assa-Asg from UPSA, Department of Business, Economics and Actuarial Science. Please, concerning the exemption policy you are talking about, if I heard you right, you are saying that those or some of the courses that our students are going to get exemption should be handled by a certified actuary, right? Accredited actuary. So there are some courses that you have indicated in the level the first level. For instance, economics. We talk about probability and actuarial statistics. So are you expecting an actuary to teach that course before you certify my students?
When I started, I did mention that we've segregated them into non-core, pre-actuarial, and core actuarial.
Okay.
You don't need an actuary to teach economics.
What I want to get is those courses that our students need exemption.
You don't need an actuary to teach economics.
So it's now clearer.
Yes.
Okay.
But you need an actuary to teach financial mathematics, survival models. Yes.
Mike, you talk later.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mark, I think we don't want this pathway to look at doing brokerage services for ASSA. We don't want that. Okay? And I agree with some of you that we don't want it to be a brokerage services that we are doing for ACCA, ASSA. We are saying that this is an ASG partnership. Okay? I don't want the ACCA, ICA problem here in Ghana. Okay? If we are going to run our pathway and ASSA is supporting that, let the pricing be in cedis. Even with the SOA, we're even able to negotiate cheaper and free rate for us. That I've paid fees for students that have been refunded to them after they pass. Okay? So, for this thing, we've waited for 25 years. And then me bubefu. Because yabre wa de. Oh, yabre pa. So if now we are going to have ASG supported by ASSA, he read their strategy document. They want to help Africa after 75 years. They want to leave legacy. They've gone beyond money. Now they want to leave a legacy on African continent. So, if we are negotiating with them about fees, they don't, yes, they are now looking at legacy. Because 75 years, it's not about money anymore. You have retired 15 years. So, that will be very crucial, the pricing. It should be cheaper so that these students can exhibit their skill and technical capabilities. And then the ASSA will benefit. Because the benefit to ASSA is that I partner the ASG will produce 60 actuaries. That will give them more economic benefit than whether it's in dollars, in that kind of thing. And then secondly, the fees that you mentioned. The ASG is a Ghanaian association. Don't let us charge membership in fees or benchmark it to dollar. If the people outside in the diaspora, they don't practice here. If they want to come and the dollar is favoring them, so be it. But don't price war. That's the point I'm making. No price war. We are the professionals practicing here. If it is 100 cedi, you are charging us 100 cedi annum. If the guy practicing arbitrary want to help you, then he can pay a dollar, whatever equivalent, but it should be my equivalent for his own. So if he decide to pay more, so be it. But don't look at him to price me. And it happens. It happens a lot of the time. I told you I belong to so many associations here in Ghana. Don't make the mistakes the others are making, so that when I'm on pension, I'm 50 now. When I'm on pension and I've done 20 years in pension, I will smile, believing that the work we started is bearing fruit. And Carl, I just want to say this about Warfire. He's sitting there very quietly. The man in the white t-shirt. Warfire. This man have done so well for the Actuarial Society of Ghana. Every year he comes to Ghana, he comes to do some work for SNIT, then he will give us money. He will hold us at a Riga restaurant. No, now he's retired. So the last time I told him I will fund it, and I funded it. No. Warfire. Look, Warfire will always come. And some of the students that have gone to the US and they are doing well, he even assigned mentors to them. My own personal experience, I called him that there's this lady at MPRA who is very good. She wants to do this thing. Immediately, a lady called me from the US that Warfire said she should talk to me. Then I linked her with the lady. So Warfire have done so much, and he sits quietly. But
It's a member of the SOA. So,
I think
Your submission is well
No,
noted. I think
Mark.
we all agree with that. We are going to ensure that.
Professor, the problem that I have, Prof, is that we are hard pressed for time. I'll tell you one thing. It's an amazing thing about Ghanaians. And when you are in the UK or the US, where they charge per minute, you finish your church service, you finish your program right on time, because any minute after means boom. So because of that, I've taken total control. I'm going to take one more, no more, because there is one other section coming after. If I come to think about it, I don't think I'll take any more questions. Okay. But let it be known. Yet, Prof, you speak, no doubt.
Okay.
Let it.
Have another take on that guy's question about having a credential actuary. The main reason, and from what I know from experience, is to have somebody there, even if it's economics, to take a look at it. The topics being addressed on that exam have more of a bearing to the insurance industry. There are many topics in macroeconomics, but which ones pertain to the industry that you are testing on? I mean, even you can see that in probability. There are many topics there, but if you look carefully, the ones being asked on the exam are the ones that pertain mainly to the insurance industry. They're not going to get into things that don't have anything much to do with the industry. Those are not going to be emphasized. So having a credential actuary on there, it would be a good idea. For instance, on life contingencies, I remember about 10 years ago, somebody that worked for me popped into my office and said, "Oh, can you help me with this?" I took a look at it and I said, "Listen, I cannot answer this question, but I can explain to you why they're asking this question." You know, I said, I don't have the skills anymore to do this kind of calculation, but this is why. And I gave the person the reason, because, oh, now I can solve it. So that is why you may need a credential actuary on there.
Prof, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And please, Mark, whether you like it or not, we are in this country. You've got to make it city, case closed. Now, according to the program, we've got just one more section, which is the ASG GIC Actuarial program. That's how they've labeled it. It is my privilege and honor to welcome to the microphone Dr. Frank Odum. Let's welcome him, please. Past president of the ASG.
Thank you, Carl. We're going to do a very short presentation on the ASG-CIG collaboration. I think a lot has been said about the education program. So this is just going to be a short skit. There will be only 6 slides. I'll talk about 3 of them. And then the director of the Ghana Insurance College will also talk about 3 of them. So the time has been fast spent already. So if you can put out the slide. Yeah. And whilst waiting for the slide, Carl, you said that I'll be 70 sometime. What did you know that my calendar age is 70 already? And if you want my exact age, when I just calculated it, I'm 69.924 years. Yeah, can you go to the next slide? This just question is why ASG GIC program. The first thing is that we want to consolidate the efforts of all the key stakeholders in developing actuarial human resources for Ghana. It's very important. And I think GIC being an educational institution has all the capacity to help us get there. And also the second reason why we are doing this is to ensure that a structured progression towards qualification as an actuary. So far it's been haphazard, but I think if we take you through the GIC program, it can be a bit of more structured approach. And also to provide an immediate certification that allows members to practice with the right skill sets and an in-depth understanding of the core actuarial knowledge. You know, as we said, by the time you go through levels 1 and 2, 3, there's a probability of getting some diploma in actuarial techniques because you've gone through a very structured system. So that's one of the reasons why we have this collaboration. Also, to provide a structured framework in which students can and receive all the supports required to successfully go through the actuarial examination, because you will see that at the college there will be provision for tuition and so on, and all the things that will help you to make things a bit easier for you. And the last reason is to ensure, to encourage cohort-based qualification as opposed to individual approach. So as has been said already, we want a cohort-based exposure so that we have a group going, another group going. The program partnership is made up of the following. Can you adjust your slide? Can you adjust your slide properly? Good. The program is sanctioned by the regulator. Interestingly, it says the regulator, which here shows that the National Insurance Commission. But I believe all the regulators in the industry, like the pensions industry, National Pension Regulatory Authority, the National Health Insurance Authority, they're all buying into this because we've had talks with them. So they are also part of it. And then, of course, the key resource partner is the Ghana Insurance College. They have provision for library services, tuition. They also serve as the examination center and the examination administrator as well. So it's very important that we have them as a partner. And of course, the project initiator being the Actuarial Society of Ghana as a lead tuition facilitator, affiliate, and joint certification. And also, of course, like we heard today, we are not working alone. We are working with Assa, and so Assa is our honorable partner in this game. And in the end, hopefully, they will join us in partnership to give the joint certification. The conditions for getting into this is to, first of all, you must, eligibility criteria is that you must be a member of ASG in good standing. It's very important. You must have passed at least level 2 subject papers, and you must hold a university degree. So these are the criteria that are required for you to go through the ASG GIC program. Richard, could you come and continue for me? You are a younger man, so the old man must sit down and the younger man continue.
Okay, so I'll continue from where Dr. Ami ended. Please. Oh, I should. The next slide. Okay. So the courses at level 3, because the program is aiming at level 3. Level 2, 1 and 2 will be covered at the university level. So no issues with it. So the level 3, the contents, we have a contingency, contain the traditional life contingency examination. And then we have the actuarial data science. Yes, today, data, statistics, etc. is being practiced everywhere. So we discuss the actuarial version here. And then we also have the loss reserving and financial engineering. Loss reserving, general insurance, IBNR reserving, life insurance, technical provisions, etc. So to be handled here, financial engineering, derivatives, stocks modeling, etc. will also be covered under this section. And then communication is a key, part of actuarial practice. That is, if you could do the maths, but communicating become a challenge, then it will be difficult to get your information through. So that one too is part of level 3. And the legal framework, so we work within commissions, within tax laws, etc. So that area too will be examined. And then our traditional actuarial risk management will also be examined at level 3. So these are this is the examination format. We have the contingency exams with 2 papers, one written and then Excel-based components. That's the contingency. We also have the loss reserving and the financial engineering. There will also be 2 papers, one written and then Excel modeling. And then the actuarial risk management 2 written and then typing as well or Excel modeling. And then actuarial data science will follow same, but that one written and then there will be project assessments. Then the communication, more practical in nature. And then the legal framework to be written. That one will be done, examined by AASG in Ghana here. So some of the key benefits of the program includes work skill development. That is, you'll be able to be working and also be doing your examination. So you link the theory and then the practice. And some of the benefits is that you'll be a member of ASA and then ASG as well. And then you also have diploma in actuarial techniques as part of the qualification as you progress. And tuition support. You know, third world countries have suffered from lack of tuition in most advanced economy like the US and United Kingdom. We have practicing actuaries, experienced actuaries who provide tuition for students. This program will also provide tuition at the college where we use qualified actuaries from SA and then in Ghana here. And then we have recognition, exemption agreements, recognition also will be part of the program. You know, ASC, Actuarial side of South Africa, actually emanated or came from IFOA. In the past, they were all writing IFOA exams. So they have structured their exams such that they have mutual exemption agreement with the ASA. Therefore, when you complete the one we are doing here, chances you will get some exemptions from IFOA, Institute of Actuaries in UK. And then study support to available. That is study materials, and then there will be mock examination to test students before they do the main exams. Okay. And competitive fee. There have been a lot of controversies, but resolve your issue today. So the next step, the fees will be finalized. More marketing will be done to get the CEOs in the insurance companies as well as the regulators. And then there will be open application in June. Then assessment, that is when you apply, it's not automatic. Your application will be subject to some assessments before you'll be given admission. And the enrollment will begin around July, August. Okay. I think so far, that's what we have. This is what we have. Okay.
I have no doubt that I can trust you when it comes to time management. Having said that, just before we call upon Mr. Kofinti to give his closing remarks, Prof, David was the one who exposed you, in quote, that you used to take them to Dynasty, or was it Regal? Now, Regal, unfortunately, is closed. It's non-existent. So too is Dynasty. But I can assure you that Imperial Peking and Noble House are still functioning. So they're fantastic. So you can take along the MC and one or two others right there. Thank you. God bless you.
That would be in order.
Right. So Kofi, just give me a minute, yeah? Your president, this is why I tell you, benevolent dictator, wants to make just a little comment. Neil Tego.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This one, a quick one. For the CEOs and directors who are here, I want to make a personal appeal to support your officers to go through this program. Financially, we don't want them to be struggling. We want to see them going through. So, like the Americas and the UKs you are talking about, they support their own. So we should also try to support ours. And that's the only appeal I want to make. Yeah. Thank you.
So in so doing, maybe what you can do is if you're sponsoring the chap, then you let the person sign the bond. If it's 1 year, it's a 2-year bond. If it's 2 years, it's a 5-year bond. I think that's what the Scholarship Secretariat of Ghana does. And please, you'll be helping your own company. I've been given thorough advice on it in terms of what the actuarial people do for companies, and particularly out there, as Prof said, out there is big. Mr. Kofinti.
Thank you. And at this stage, I think I'm the only thing between you and your lunch. So all I'm going to say is we thank you all, including our partners. We thank GIC, we thank ASA, we thank NIC, and we thank all of the student bodies and students who we have done this 25 years in waiting. And I would want to say on behalf of the ASG, thank you very much and have a lovely day.
You know, I'm used to it now. I really am. They thank everybody except the MC. Hey, Radinyankopon. Sanet here. Okay. You know I don't like to hold people, but unfortunately, sad news. Lunch is not ready. Okay, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. For those who don't understand, it's only 5 minutes, unfortunately. So I'm pleading with you, just bear with me. I would ask Mr. Quayson to give us the closing prayer. We can then once again, and I'm using the words by the actuaries, networking. I will use those words. We can network and just give us 5 minutes. Everything should be hockey-dory, and then away we go. So let's welcome Mr. Quayson.
Thank you. Can we please close our eyes? Father, we thank you in the mighty name of your Son, Jesus, once again. We thank you for a successful deliberation and a successful launch of our program. We pray, oh Lord, that you be with each and every one of us here as we depart back to our various homes and offices. Keep us safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Now speak to one another.